Station Echo, the choir in the deep. Dr. Maeve Vance learned to hate the generator before she learned much else about the place. Not because it was loud. It wasn't, really. But because you couldn't measure it, or filter it, or turn your wave from it. It sat at 38 hertz, and it came up through the concrete, through the deck plates, through her boots, and into her back teeth. By the third day, she couldn't tell anymore if she was hearing it or just remembering it. Station Echo sat on a lump of basalt 53 miles southeast of the Avalon Peninsula, a concrete cylinder bolted to a rock that had never asked for the company. The mainland was radio static, mostly. The container ship passed once a week on its way to Rotterdam, close enough to see its lights, too far to raise on the radio. The ocean was the only thing that stayed the same, and it wasn't much comfort. She'd taken the job because nobody else wanted it. 6 months of solitary acoustic monitoring, a small stipend, and the chance to be somewhere nobody was looking at her. The scandal was still fresh enough to smell like diesel on her clothes. A paper on blue whale migration that turned out to lean on hydrophone data a grad student had faked, and that she hadn't caught. The university called it negligence. The journals called it fraud. Maeve just called it the last way she had left to keep doing the work. Out here, at least, nobody could bring it up over coffee. The first anomaly showed up on the third night. She was in the upper monitoring bay, headphones on, watching the spectrogram roll down the screen in its usual soup of shipping noises and the odd fin whale pulse. At 2:17, the waterfall plot hitched. Something came through in 3 octaves. A looping, mathematically tidy phrase that had the shape of a whale song. Long glides, call and response, the whole architecture of it. But the fundamentals sat too low, and the overtones climbed somewhere no throat should be able to reach. It looped every 43 seconds. Not about 43. 43 on the second. Every time. She ran through her filters, checked it against every catalog call she had on file. Nothing matched. She named the file Anomaly-01 and sat there a while, not doing anything, just listening to the generator through the floor. It came back the next night at 2:03 and 2:11. Always something in that 2 to 4 window. Always the same rigid shape, like something down there was rehearsing one phrase until it got it exactly right. By the end of the week, there was a second layer riding under the first. A fast, high clicking, almost too quiet to notice, like a fingernail tapping glass underwater. When she pushed the gain up, the water in the glass on her desk actually moved. A little standing wave, rising and falling with the clicks. Her thoughts went slow and thick while she watched it. It wasn't a bad feeling. It felt, if anything, like being let off the hook early. She stopped playing that track back after the first time, or tried to. Sleep turned into a string of half hours, broken by the certainty that someone was saying her name just under the noise floor. Things came up that she hadn't thought about in years. Her father's workshop, a blue dress from when she was 7, her own voice saying, "I'm sorry," and in a room that didn't exist anymore. The voices seemed to already know all of it. They didn't push. They just set the memories down in front of her, one at a time, like they'd been waiting to give them back. The storm hit on the 11th night. She stood at the lower observation deck with her forehead against the glass, watching the floodlights cut through the rain. Something pale went through one of those light tunnels, too smooth for a seal, moving with too much attention to debris, and then it was gone. She told herself it was a reflection. The spectrogram disagreed and caught a spike in that same impossible harmonic the second the shape passed. After that, she left every light on the corridors on. The water changed next. The usual chop went flat and oily for a couple 100 meters around the pylons. Waves would come in off the open Atlantic and just quit at the edge of that ring, like the sea itself had lost its nerve. She dropped a temperature probe and found a cold, dead layer rising out of the trench, water with no oxygen in it, climbing upward toward the surface, where it had no business being. The support struts started picking up impacts, wet, heavy thuds, then a long, dragging sound, like something big was testing the concrete for a weak spot. She unplugged the exterior speakers. It didn't matter. The singing kept coming. Through the walls now, through the pipes, through her own skull, close enough that it seemed to know the exact spacing of her ears. It told her the cold wasn't real. Not really. That it was warm past the moon pool once you stopped fighting it. It talked about her disgrace the way a doctor talks about an old scar, like it was already healed, already behind her. She quit sleeping altogether, taped the moon pool hatch shut, then cabled it, then sat on the deck, plating with her back against the locking wheel, waiting on a morning that took its time. Twice she woke up with her hand already on the wheel. The second time, water was already coming in around the gasket, cold enough to hurt. The power went out on the 19th night. The generator cut off mid-cycle. The lights died one bank at a time. The emergency strips along the floor put out a thin green glow, and up through the moon pool she couldn't remember unlatching it came a soft light, the color of old bone. She crawled to the edge and looked down. There were faces in the water, long skulls, eyes too big for any human face, skin thin enough to see through in places, mouths wider than they should be, full of small curved teeth, built for holding on, not tearing. Something along their throats lit up and dimmed in time with the song, which was everywhere now, all at once. They weren't beautiful. That word didn't apply to them. They'd never needed a surface to be judged by. They were old and patient, and they'd been singing long before there was anyone up here to hear it. One of them broke the surface without a splash. The song dropped down to a single note. And that note found whatever shape her grief had and matched it exactly, and canceled it out. The loneliness went first, then the guilt, quieter than she expected. The water at her ankles. She hadn't noticed stepping into it. Felt like the first warm thing she touched in a long time. She opened the outer hatch herself. The sea came in fast, all at once, up her legs, her hips, her back. The faces were still down there, mouths open, and the song shifted a half step to make room. She went in after it. The water closed over her without any resistance at all. The last thing she heard wasn't the song. It was the generator. Finally. Mercifully. Quiet. And under that, the slow, old frequencies of the trench. And something that felt, for the first time in years, like being forgiven. Final thoughts. If you enjoyed this type of content, please like and follow for more.